theatre, film, TV and more. Suzy Wrong reviews it all on Joy Drive.
Good afternoon, Suzy Wrong.
Hi, Warren. At Joy Radio, we value very highly the feedback that we receive from our listeners, don't we?
We absolutely do. We've got some feedback in saying, because today we're talking about Juice, which is on SBS On Demand. Juice was clever technically, but the main character was super annoying. A 3-year-old in the body of a man. I didn't make it all the way through. Again, it's content focusing on gay male characters. I love the segment and your banter, but I ask, please include some content that isn't focused on trans and cis gay men. Your audience is diverse and we all like to be seen and heard on the big screen. Thank you. And thank you so much for your feedback. We are always open to feedback here at Joy on 0427 569 949 or on air at joy.org.au. Love to hear from you. But we do try really hard to include everyone, and I certainly don't. One thing I don't like doing is putting communities within a community against each other. We try and cover absolutely everyone. And Suzy, I know you try very hard every week to pick something that is inclusive of our community here, and sometimes it can be difficult. But we've tried to cover everyone, haven't we? We had a few good ones.
Yeah, last week we had Rainbow Rishta, which had a lovely, lovely young lesbian couple. 3 weeks ago we had Love Lies Bleeding, which is kind of very prominent in the moment. And not too long ago we had Bottoms. I don't think it's true that we have more trans content than lesbian content. That's not true. But we certainly have a lot more cis gay men. But that seems to me to be the way of the world. That's the kind of that's the kind of content that's being made, and that's what I'm looking for to cover queer content. But definitely, if you have any recommendations, please send them through. I do like the shows to be a bit more recent. I like them to have a sense of being current in this section. But if you do come across anything, do let us know, because I can't claim to know everything that's happening out there, even though I do try very hard to locate everything that would be relevant to us. But thank you for the feedback. It's important to us, and we'll try harder.
Definitely. Suzy, tell us what you thought about Juice on SBS On Demand.
Jama has moved into his boyfriend's home, where he says feels very adult. There is evidence everywhere, however, that Jama is struggling to grow up. He may look like a man, but it is clear that maturity evades him. Marwan Rizan is the star and creator of the 6-part comedy series Juice, now streaming on SBS On Demand. It is an amusing, trippy ride with many surprising visual effects incorporated into its storytelling. On the surface, Juice almost looks like it's been made to resemble a children's program, which is appropriate considering the central premise of Jama's problems with adulting. We discover quickly that the cause of his dysfunctions is likely to be his parents, who never had a happy marriage and who are both highly awkward in different ways. His deluded mother, Farida, is particularly fascinating, having moved from Pakistan, leaving behind an acting career to bring up her family in England, where she also runs a community centre. As the series progresses, Farida's history becomes increasingly relevant to Jama's self-discovery, and the final episodes become unexpectedly poignant. I found Juice to be very moving. I expect viewers with an immigrant background will feel the same. LGBTQ audiences will also certainly appreciate its distinct queer sensibility that pervades the entire experience. Juice is often very funny and very creatively and imaginatively assembled, but there is a sensitivity that makes it connect at a deeper level. I found myself laughing one minute and cheering up the next. Getting life right is rarely easy, as we all know, and Jama's story strips away the pretenses that we habitually manufacture to hide from the fact that we never really know what we are doing. Warren, you're really good at adulting, aren't you? But is it all just an act?
You reckon there's a kid somewhere in there? There is.
I think we are all essentially that, right? I don't know that this show has made me think about, the way we think, the things we do, the things we think, that we are doing, that makes me feel like we're doing the right thing, that makes me think that we are doing the adult thing.
Look, I'll just say first, I found the show at first a little bit weird because, it's got gay characters in there, but, it's not the issue. Everything's okay with the gay. You know what I mean? But they weren't okay with his quirkiness or the clumsiness and all that childlike behaviour, but being gay itself was just, it was inconsequential. And I thought, wow, are we moving to that point in the production of TV shows where it is that now? It's you don't have to, being gay isn't necessarily the centre thing we have to discuss and all get comfortable with and come out and all tell all those stories. We can just be gay.
Yeah, I'd like to interrupt that. This point is really important. That's a really important point you've brought up, because the character is from a Muslim Pakistani background, and because they don't dwell on sort of like the discrimination, it is a new thing. Like, we don't see minority gay people dealing with life outside of homophobia on our screen. So this is significant in that way. Please continue.
Thank you, Suzy. It took me a while, I suppose, to realise also that, Gemma's imagination was making things shake and move. I didn't understand that at first, and I thought, oh, maybe that's just a millennial comedy thing. I don't know. I thought, what's that? Is it some sort of paranormal thing? Has he got superpowers? And then I realised afterwards, no, it's just portraying, I suppose, his anxiety, and that's how they've done it. Did you get confused at first?
I thought the first episode wasn't great, unfortunately, because I think a lot of people might quit from the first episode. It was awkward, but the whole thing is about people being awkward, I guess. I might not have persisted if not for this segment, but boy, am I glad I did. After the third episode, I was
You were hooked?
I was fully invested.
And it does show, doesn't it?
Completely hooked.
Did you? And I mean, the main character, I suppose, is very avoiding situations, isn't he? Whenever there is anxiety or conflict or something like that. And as I was watching it, I was thinking, I wonder if Suzy Wrong was, because you strike me as a very direct person, I wonder if Suzy Wrong was ever an avoidant person. Did you still avoid conflict and situations, or have you always tackled them head on?
I don't avoid conflict. I quite enjoy it.
Oh.
I quite enjoy it, but I do avoid other things, like some kind of emotional things, and there is a lot about family history in it, and I think I do avoid some of them because I live so far away from the rest of my family, and also the stuff with your parents, and the more that you grow older as well, because they've become so old. My father's going to be 75 this year, and you think, yeah, there are things that would be great if we could resolve, but you got to take into account their age, and also, if I bring things up when I'm visiting there later this week, and you think, like, you've only got a week there, what do you think you're going to resolve? So in a way, I guess I do avoid some things, but in general, I quite enjoy conflict. And I think I've learned to enjoy conflict because I've learned that it's ultimately rewarding. The awkwardness, the discomfort of those experiences, I feel like they tend always to be rewarding. It takes you to a place where I ultimately would feel better about myself. And I also have a lot of experience knowing that without the conflict, you kind of get stuck in a place that kind of feels a little bit untruthful or something. I've learned to appreciate that the discomfort is a big part of growth.
I love the way you've said that, because, I used to avoid it. I would run away. I was a bit like the character in Juice on SBS On Demand, which is what we're talking about, and I would run away from it straight away. And then now I've realised, yeah, actually, you know what, if you don't, I tend to keep it bottled up and I don't let it out of my system, and then I end up ruminating over and over about it. So I just find, just be direct, shoot it. And someone said to me once, you know what, Warren, listen to this. This was someone's words of wisdom. They said to me, you can't be responsible for how people react. You just be responsible for how you deliver the information, and don't be rude. You can still be assertive, but not rude. But how they react is their issue. So now I just say it.
Yeah, you were saying about the rumination. Like, if you're not tackling the issue, the rumination literally becomes nightmares, don't you think? Like, I feel like if things...
Can't sleep.
You think that you can... Yeah, you think you can compartmentalize them to the back of your mind somewhere, but they literally never go anywhere. They sit there and they manifest in strange ways. And I have learned that you just have to find a way to deal with those things. And one thing I've learned, I would think is very valuable to share, is with sometimes there are things that you do when you're young that are appropriate because you don't have the skill and you don't have the strength to deal with those things. But as you grow older, as you become more mature, the methods you had taken on in the past shouldn't be the same methods you use today. And I think hopefully with age and maturity, we all become stronger people. You know, we are resilient people. And with age, you should be able to deal with maybe old problems or problems that are similar to old ones in new ways and not just repeat old patterns. I think that's dangerous and that's unhealthy. And I think we need to learn how to kind of acknowledge that we are better at doing life and we are stronger and we don't have to deal with old problems in old ways.
But don't you find that some of your old reactions still surface from when you were a kid, like they did in this show, Juice?
I disagree. I feel like what this show is showing, what Juice is showing, is that Jama is trying to find a new way of processing the problems. Like he's understanding his mother for the first time because he's grown up. He wouldn't have understood his mother 10 years ago, 15 years ago, because he simply didn't have the maturity. And because he was too young to understand his mother, the relationship became difficult because there is a bridge that couldn't be, there was a gap that they couldn't bridge. But now, because he's grown up or growing up and, and having to explore a serious relationship of his own, I think it allows him to understand his mother in a way that he wasn't in the past. That's the main lesson I got from the show, which I found to be so beautifully done. Incredibly beautifully done. I have never seen something done so sensitively in such a crazy comedy.
And did you know that's his real mother in real life?
Yeah, I did have to research just to see like how much of this story is true, only because I found it to be so kind of tender, and I thought some of this must be true. So I did a bit of Googling. There is no evidence that the story is the mother's story, but we do know that is the real brother that plays the brother, is the real mother that plays the mother, and the mother is fantastic.
Yeah, I thought the whole cast was fantastic. We're talking about Juice with Suzy Wrong. You can catch it on SBS On Demand. Suzy, I'm excited because you're going on holidays to Singapore.
Thanks for being excited for me.
I am. I'm really excited. What are you going to do in Singapore apart from see your dad?
I tend to just go and eat a lot.
Oh, yum.
I really love the food there, especially as a vegetarian, even though, we actually do have a really vibrant sort of vegetarian food scene in Sydney, but just in terms of the food that I grew up with, obviously, I still have to go back there, and it's become trendy in Singapore to do vegetarian versions of kind of classic dishes. Yeah, so the last I would say 3-4 years, I could get all the food that I haven't had for a long time, and in vegetarian versions that I can have. So I'm excited about that. But I'm not excited about not having our Tuesday chats. But I'll be back in 2 weeks' time.
All refreshed. Thank you, Suzy. So, how are you going to finish it? You finish the segment.
You haven't told me what music you're playing today.
Oh, I haven't put anything. We've got Sash coming up, Mysterious Times. But I thought because we don't have any homework for next week, do we?
We don't have any homework for the next 2 weeks, so everybody can take a break and, send in recommendations if you come across anything you thought that I missed.
Exactly. Suzy, have a great holiday, and we'll chat to you in a few weeks. I can't wait to hear about it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.